Okay, let's talk about the wiring. So I believe the main controller, if I grab it, is the rear controller. So the way I know it is through my rear controller motors. I need to change this. They melted, and I put all the shrink wrap on them just to keep them isolated. So first things first, if you look at the first two easiest wires to connect is this gray and this white that come from both controllers, and that just connects the controllers. Then moving on, the second easiest wire to connect is the large colorful one, because there's only one other larger wire that comes off of the throttle, which is this one, and that one connects there. And then what splits from that is this green, blue, and orange wire, which goes over to the second controller, which also has a green, blue, and orange wire there. And then this is where, after that, is where it gets extremely complicated, because then you start getting into lighting. But let's see if I could describe all these things. Okay, so also what's super easy to connect from that orange, blue, and green wire, there's two green wires that come off. So 1, 2, and that goes right into the orange and brown wire that comes off of the throttle. Let's see, and then after that you start getting into the lighting, which is extremely difficult to explain. Okay, so off of the main controller, there's also this gray wire that goes into this brownish burgundy looking wire here. There's a single wire, brownish burgundy, and a gray wire that comes off of the main controller. Let's see what else comes off of the main controller. The orange wire is the step down wire. So where that integrates into the lighting system is what I explained in one of my previous videos. So it will look like this. It's usually wrapped in the shrink wrap. Mine went out and I had to fix it. You can watch the other video if you want to see that. It's wrapped in this shrink wrap, and it's hidden in the right panel where the lighting goes on the Mantis. And it's really easy to distinguish because I think they're all wrapped in green. But if not, the other easy way to distinguish it is they have green and yellow wires coming out of it, while the black side connecting to the other parts of the lighting harness is just black and red and black wires coming out of both sides. So that's the orange wire coming from the main controller. That's the main power circuit to the rear lights, which causes the flashing when you hit the brakes. So now that that's really just every wire from the controller on controller 1, you know the XT60 connectors. Now this black and white wire on the controller 1 is gonna go split into this Y wire connector. So looks just like that. It's got about 4 wires that come out of it, and if you disconnect it from both sides of the harness, it's like a Y shape. And so that black and white wire is to the brakes, and that will lead into the green and yellow wire that goes into that main harness, and that little single white wire. I've switched these around. Doesn't really matter which one's which, but from what I know, that I think the two reds go to the white, and the black and the red go to the green and the yellow. Now, this is where the spaghetti comes in. I can't really get a good view of it. Let's just look at some wires on the main controller. So we already talked on the second controller. This is to the front motor. We already talked about the gray and the white wire here. We talked about these two greens. That's one of the easiest to connect. And you know that this is to the motor, and you know this is the XT60. There aren't too many wires that come off the second controller. That's how you know it's the second controller. This red and black wire is pretty important, because this is the main power source to the lights. And basically, if you follow it, it actually leads to the button that goes up. So let's see if I can follow it. There it is. That's the wire, this little thick wire that has a green and yellow wire coming out of it, and it has a red and a black wire coming out of it. So the main power line from the second controller goes in to that skinny line that goes up to the button, and then it plugs into the red. There's a red wire here that goes in. The red wire there goes into that button here, and then it comes out. There's a black wire that goes into the main lighting harness. That's where it's grounded. So basically it goes back up to the button and back out into this second part of the lighting. So that single black wire there that comes out of that wire, make sure it's connected to the single red wire. So you'll notice single black skinny goes to the single red, and the double line that comes out of the second controller is going to split into the red and black. Now, that wire we're looking for that splits all those wires we just talked about has 4 wires that come out of it, and that's how you know it's correct, because then the other side will connect where you see the blue and the red. This is all these wires are basically to the side lighting here. So that's the most difficult part, is the lighting. Now, this wire also will split into the front headlights. See? Just like that. So if you notice, just there, that's the blue one. Here, that's the main power source. They're all connected here, and then they go up, and then they connect to the front headlights, just like that. And that is also what comes off of those front headlights. That will go all the way down and power this, which is the other controller module to the rear lights. And you'll notice that there's a really long wire here. This is actually connected to the rear brake lights, and it goes into the left side of the scooter. See, just this wire. And that's gonna go split. It's gonna be green and yellow, and it's gonna split from green and yellow and red and black. So the green and yellow side will obviously go to that green and yellow controller, the one that breaks from maybe short circuiting, I don't know. But it's normally wrapped in a green shrink wrap we talked about earlier, and that will split over. There. It will go right over into that rear brake light wire right there. So it kind of, it's the same on both sides. This wire here that goes into that panel is to the rear brake lights. That one. And how you know is what comes out of it. Green, yellow, black, and red.